In the heart of the arena, under the shimmering veil of bright lights and roaring anticipation, two warriors stepped forward from opposite ends of the boxing world. One, a Venezuelan maestro of precision and elegance, Jorge El Niño de Oro Linares, smooth, stylish, and typically gifted. A man whose gloves moved like brushes on canvas, painting damage with sharp, graceful strokes. The other, Rocky Juarez of the United States, a rugged, relentless fighter molded by grit. A man known not for flashy technique, but for heart, pressure, and unbreakable will. The crowd was split, half marveling at Linares' artistry, half cheering the raw doggedness of Juarez. The referee called them in, the crowd hushed, and as gloves touched, the opening bell echoed like a war drum across the arena. From the very first exchange, it became a battle of contrasting worlds: finesse versus force, strategy versus heart, silk versus steel. But every time Linares landed something beautiful, Rocky answered with something meaningful: a hook to the ribs, a stiff right hand, or a surge of pressure that chased Linares into the corners. The crowd sensed the rivalry developing, artistry being questioned by raw force. Linares was winning the exchanges, but Juarez was winning hearts. His chin was steadfast, his fire unrelenting. Every moment Linares tried to showcase brilliance, Juarez pushed him to prove that brilliance could take punishment. Round by round, the rhythm of the fight began to reveal itself. Linares would sculpt beauty with combinations. Then Juarez would interrupt it with pure, rugged determination. Linares' jab was a thing of wonder, fast, piercing, and accurate, giving him control over distance and tempo. His head movement was slick, shifting angles, slipping punches, countering with sharp precision. By contrast, Juarez refused to be dazzled, sticking to his plan of consistent pressure. He began finding moments where Linares paused just long enough for him to dig in a body shot, or clip him with sharp hooks. He wasn't winning the rounds, but he was wearing Linares down gradually, forcing him to think, to move, constantly, to expend energy. Both fighters were playing their part in this unfolding drama. Linares, a painter trying to preserve his masterpiece. Juarez, a rugged sculptor trying to mold chaos into opportunity. This wasn't just a fight. It was a test of purity versus perseverance. With every exchange, the crowd became more divided, unsure whether they were witnessing a boxing clinic or a brewing war. By the middle rounds, Linares' skill and precision began to tell. His punches were landing cleaner, more frequently, and with intent. A sharp left uppercut snapped Juarez's head back, drawing a gasp from the arena. That punch had history. It was the same kind of shot that had floored him in Tokyo in a previous career setback. But tonight, Linares was determined to write new chapters. Yet, as beautiful as Linares' work was, Juarez's resistance was equally captivating. Even while eating clean jabs, right hands, and uppercuts, he stayed upright, forward, and unmovable. Rocky wasn't just taking punches. He was absorbing stories, collecting proof of Linares' greatness with every shot to eventually ask, "But can you keep it up?" His face reddened, his ribs bruised, but his spirit untouched. In a sport where technical mastery is revered, Juarez introduced something more valuable: defiance. He might not win the fight on precision, but he was winning on the question of heart. Through sweat, through blood, through pressure, he kept forcing Linares to prove that beauty could survive chaos. Then came the turning point, a moment that sent electricity through the arena. Midway through the fight, Linares, emboldened by his success, leaned in just a little too long, just a little too comfortably, and Juarez exploded. A short left hook, unseen and perfectly timed, landed flush on Linares' jaw. For a split second, the Venezuelan's knees wavered, his balance shaken, his perfection cracked. The crowd rose in disbelief. Linares steadied himself quickly. But the message was clear. This fight was not just about elegance, it was about survival. That moment ignited Juarez. He ramped up his pressure, firing body shots, overhand rights, crowd roaring with every punch that even grazed Linares. But Linares, composed under fire, responded like a true high-level champion. He didn't panic. He didn't abandon his identity. Instead, he doubled down on it. He boxed smarter, sharper, and faster, turning near disaster into a showcase of resilience. From this point on, Juarez no longer chased perfection. He tried to destroy it. And Linares was forced to defend it with everything he had. As the fight entered the championship stretch, Linares proved why artists can survive storms. He adjusted his rhythm, moved laterally with grace, firing jabs and uppercuts while never allowing Juarez to plant his feet. His shots were now faster, more precise, almost surgical. The jab opened the door, the right hand entered, and the uppercut was the signature. Every round, his punch selection became more sophisticated, more unpredictable. Juarez, though visibly tired, refused to fade. He stalked, swung, absorbed, and still pressed forward. His face showed the story of the fight, bruised, swollen, but unbroken. The commentators were in awe. This is what heart looks like. This is what skill looks like. In these rounds, it became more than a fist fight. It became a dance between survival and brilliance, between grit and grace. Linares was winning, but Rocky was not losing. Not in spirit, not in heart, not in the eyes of those who believed that pressure could break anything, except maybe the will of an artist determined to prove otherwise. In the 9th and 10th rounds, both men had left strategy behind and were now engaging on pure willpower. Juarez, running on adrenaline and pride, lunged forward with looping right hands, hoping to land something decisive. Linares, though more tired than before, still fought like a surgeon, precise, calm, and composed. His combinations flowed beautifully. Uppercuts slicing through the air, left hooks sneaking in from angles Juarez couldn't anticipate. The Venezuelan now had complete control, but he never disrespected his opponent's spirit. Even when he was landing his most elegant punches, he knew Juarez would come back with something, maybe not cleaner, maybe not sharper, but always stronger than before. Linares' corner urged him to finish strong. Juarez's corner, with desperation, simply told their warrior, "Give me everything you've got, no regrets." And that's exactly what happened. In the final minutes, the fight became less about victory and more about validation. Linares wanted to prove his brilliance wasn't fragile. Juarez wanted to prove his spirit wasn't breakable. And both succeeded. As the final bell rang, the arena was on its feet. It was a standing ovation, not for a knockout, not for a brawl, but for a pure display of boxing truth, the blend of skill, heart, art, and raw courage. Both men raised their hands. Both had given everything. But when the judges' scorecards were read, the inevitable was confirmed. Unanimous decision. The Venezuelan maestro, Jorge El Niño de Oro Linares. His arm raised, his expression calm, respectful, triumphant. Juarez nodded, knowing he hadn't just lost. He had helped create something beautiful. He didn't beat Linares, but he forced Linares to show every layer of his brilliance. The crowd cheered for both, equally, because while Linares painted the masterpiece, Rocky Juarez made sure the canvas had meaning. And that, in boxing, is what makes legends. He didn't beat Linares, but he forced Linares to show every layer of his brilliance. The crowd cheered for both, equally, because while Linares painted the masterpiece, Rocky Juarez made sure the canvas had meaning. And that, in boxing, is what makes legends.